In that sense, then, is the writing process a difficult one?
No, it's weird. That's what we were saying earlier. It's so varied. You know, we could write a song
fun.
in 45
Okay.
minutes. We could write a song in 2 weeks. You know,
Okay.
it is so, yeah. Like Dom said, it's fun. We really enjoy going to write because sometimes we might not even write any melody and lyrics. Might just be bashing out a tune for the day. But it's so fun because we don't know what's going to come out every time.
I think as well, like we always sort of think outside of the box to each other and so, like suggest slightly different things to what each other would be thinking, and that's part of the whole important like creative process. It's like if we were all on the same sort of not the same page, but we were just suggesting the same thing, it would be very predictable. But we kind of all throw in different ideas into the pot, and it comes out, you know, how it does.
So a lot of it, I assume, then comes together in the studio.
Yeah, I guess so.
We demo when we write, don't we?
This album, yeah, we've demoed a lot. Dom's a really good producer, so we've demoed a lot at home, and it sounds great.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what we do next album because I'd love to go and jam more, have more bandy moments, and go into the studio for a couple of weeks and just have fun with the tracks and lengthen them and shorten them, whatever.
Some of the newer tracks we've been working on are very like riff based.
Open to that, isn't it?
So it's not to say we might write another 30 songs and might get rid of the ones we've already written. It's not saying album 2 will turn out like that, but you know, that's the sort of thing you might want to get into the room and start experimenting with just as a band, rather than sitting in there like at the Mac and trying.
I think we got because we were writing for so long in Dom's garage with a Mac. You know, we got into a routine of this is how we do it, and then when it came to the album, it was fine. We just practiced them and went to record them. You know what I mean? But this time, I think we'll have a bit more fun in the studio and work them out a bit more beforehand.
And well, you mentioned "Excuse Me." That was kind of the foundation, so to say, for the album. Did it take long after you had written that song to kind of form the album?
I can't remember really.
We wrote that song it was a January, and it would have been January 2014. And we
13.
January 20. Oh well, yeah, because we basically wrote for a year.
Okay.
We basically January 2013, wrote for a year, yeah, that's right, and then around
14 summer.
Yeah, we stopped sort of writing early 2014. Then we recorded in summer.
The thing is, when we were writing with "Excuse Me," for example, we weren't signed to any record label, so the year continued, like Dom said. We just wrote for fun and didn't put any kind of barriers on it, and there was no restrictions with labels, nothing like that. So we had about, I don't know, 50 demos when a label picked us up, that we were just having fun, and we continued to write when the label picked us up. I think one of our, I'd say our best songs, one of our favourite songs, "If I Get High," was one of the last songs we'd written for the album, and I remember bringing it into the office after we'd been signed, and the label were like, where did this come from? So it's all just a journey we've been able to do by ourselves, which is really cool, definitely.
And well, you say you weren't signed at the time of this writing. Did that allow you more freedom in a way?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah, we had no barriers and no creative restrictions, I guess. So we just had fun and see what came out, and that's why it's quite a varied album, because we just went hell for leather and didn't have worry about anything at all.
I think that's why I'm excited for album 2, because our label trusts us. That's why we signed with RCA, and there's definitely an element of, you go do your thing, and we'll do.
So good.
I was going to say, and we'll put the adverts on Facebook, but I think they do a little bit more.
No, honestly, it's so good. Like one label we met, I won't name any names, before we signed with this label, were like, "Oh, can we take out the drums and bass and put them on track?" We were like, "No."
Yeah, I don't think they quite understood what we were.
But our label's amazing, and we just let us do what we want, really.
Awesome. But when you were unsigned, what was the ambition then? Were you?
That's the thing. I think the dream of making it and being a big band and playing these big venues is always in your head, but you don't really know if you're going to do it or think. So we just we didn't worry about it. Okay. We just had fun.
We learned that first things first: get songs, get a sound, play gigs. If you get a label, great. But that's the fundamental parts of a good band. And that's what we wanted to be.
Definitely. We got lucky the way it's structured, because I know some bands recently with bands we're friends with who have a couple songs, and now they've got signed, and now they've almost got a little bit of pressure to write their album and establish themselves, whereas we just did our thing for a few years until we got picked up and we had the songs there,
It's really natural.
Really cool, yeah.
And if you look to the shows that you played, and huge crowds, I think a lot of the shows are sold out. Are there some things that you thought being a professional musician would be like, and they turned out a bit different?
So it's always funny when people talk about like touring. They're like, you're living the life, and you're doing this, that, and the other. I think like a lot of people overlook the amount of travelling you have to do, which isn't like it's not like when you go travelling on your gap year. It's sitting in a van for tomorrow. We've got a 17-hour journey. We're up at 7 a.m. and we get in at like 1 a.m.
It's a day off tomorrow, but it's not a day off where we can go and have fun.
We drive, like I'll tell my mum will ring me like, "What are you up to?" I've got a day off, but I'm driving for 17 hours to Scandinavia. Like,
for me, particularly on tour, I love gigging, I love touring. It's amazing, and I love seeing the world and like being with my friends. But for me, it's the hardest aspect of the job because it's like I don't get to go out because I have to look after my voice. So I'm always in bed early. I have to make sure I have my sleep, and I don't talk during the day. You know, it's just all those things.
I think what we're saying is it's not always as glamorous
Yes.
as people sometimes think. Like it is a bit of a grind.
Sure, but then there's some amazing bits that you wouldn't ever dream of, like all these, like you get to go to all these fun events and you get the odd.
Well, the gigs
are amazing.
The gigs are why you do it, and they kind of like if the gigs weren't as good as they were, we wouldn't be touring. Like, it would take it out of you too much. But it's like you'll travel, but you'll play the gig, and it'll be like the much needed pick me up. You know.
What was one of the high points of maybe the last year?
We played a gig in London off our biggest headline show, which was about 2-3 weeks ago now, at the Camden Electric Ballroom. That was just massive. We'd supported there with a band called A1 Nation, so we saw the size of the room and the crowd. But to have them all for yourself and singing your own tracks back, it's incredible.
It was weird to be back there in the space of like 4 or 5 months or something stupid. That was really weird to have our own crowd there.
Is it because I'm not sure if this is right, but that trip switch is used in a video game?
It's in FIFA 16, which is like the soccer football game of the world.
That's what most of the band grew up playing it. You know.
And then like what you just mentioned, that people are shouting your lyrics back to you. Is that a surreal thing or?
It's ridiculous that
it's
people
a bit weird.
Like know all of our tracks. It's just you don't quite fathom it when you're starting off the band that people are going to do that one day. The first time it happened, I remember at the Barfly.
Yeah, I was literally about to recall that.
2 years ago, and I was just stopped on a track.
There's only like 10, 20 people singing back, and we were just like, they know the words. And now we won't be surprised if 1,000 or 2,000 people will sing back.
But yeah, so it's good.
And finally, then, Dom, you already mentioned, or you hinted at writing for the next album.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me, you say it was written in 2013. So do these songs on the album, do they already feel a bit old?
Yeah, they do. Some still feel quite like sort of recent, like Drawing Pins was the last song that we recorded before the album was actually finished. That still feels quite fresh to us. But songs like Excuse Me, Graveyard Whistling, Itch, we've had those songs for nearly 3 years
Graveyard feels
now.
quite old now.
We've had them for nearly 3 years. So
still enjoying playing them though.
Yeah, we love them. And although they're to the world, they're just being released as new songs, and our debut album only came out like a month ago, whatever it was. To us, they're like old friends. They've been around for a while.
It's funny,
but we still love them.
Yeah, we're different writers now as well. I could tell with our new stuff, it's expanding and it is getting better, and
it's exciting.
It's really exciting, yeah.
So how far are you now in terms of writing for something else?
It's so early. I mean, we've had like 10 or 15 tracks, but they're either like 3/4 demos, or like Dom said, they're quite. We've got a lot of time that we'll probably write another 50.
I would love it if all the songs we've written didn't end up on album 2 because we write better songs.
Absolutely, I agree completely. But we're in a comfortable situation where we've had a lot of fun with these new tracks. And we feel good about them, so
we're kind of just sitting back. We'll just write when we can, and
which is great.
We've got like a bank of good songs sitting there,
and it's nice knowing that we can do it still.
Yeah.
And then you say you've progressed since writing the debut album, and it keeps progressing.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, but what do you notice about the songwriting now? Is it
just a bit more creative, a bit older. We see the world differently, and we've listened to a lot more music. I guess we've just aged, and our music's aging, I guess, and it just get a bit more creative and a bit more experimental. And
I think that's it. Creative, more experimental, and we always want our music to be timeless.
Yeah.
We don't want to put like a stamp on it that sounds like it was in the era of 2000, whatever. You want to listen to it in 10, 20, 30 years' time and be like, okay, that still is a great piece of work. So yeah, it's a lot more creative than the last album, I think, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be exciting for the fans to. It's a shame they have to wait so long, but it's going to be exciting for them to hear the stuff when it finally gets released.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
Cheers, man.